Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of An Hour with Bob. Here we are on this beautiful September 10th it is, 2012. And September is my favorite month. The weather is the best because you can sleep at night and you're not dying. You don't need an air conditioner. I didn't realize how expensive, or should I say I didn't realize this time how much I was spending on air conditioning. And I'm not a big fan of air conditioning, but the humidity was so bad in the last 4 or 5 weeks, most of the days. There was a few days it wasn't, but for the most part, it was pretty bad. And I live alone, and I turn the AC off when I'm not home, and my electric bill was $138. And that's, by the way, I have a hot tub that I use, but it's been broken, so it can't even be that. $138 electric. And by the way, only about 62 of that was the electric bill. The rest was that supplement for the oil for the electric, to make the electric. So when people tell you that they're trying to sell these, the idea on electric heat and electrical appliances that use a lot of electricity, forget about it, because especially electric heat. You know, they show these things that they say they heat a room. They're so inexpensive. That's bull. They're going by the electric cost, not including the cost of the oil, the supplemental fee they tack on, which is usually the same price as the fee itself. So in other words, a $60 electric bill becomes $120. It's usually, it seems to me, it has been for me, it's been double, whatever it is, or actually a little bit better than double. I'm going to show you a video here in a little while. You see like Montel Williams trying to hustle people to, I think it's a Money Mutual. He says he's got 100 different companies that'll loan you $1,000 on the spot just based on your payroll, your whatever your payroll tax, your payroll, whatever you make a week for pay. And the amazing thing is the payback is ridiculous. It's up to 300%. My answer to that is don't borrow this month or this week. Skip it. And then next week, you can use the money you didn't spend, and you can buy whatever you needed to buy and not have to call one of Montel Williams' friends and pay 300% interest. They call them payroll loans. And they tell you, he says it, it's a little, at the bottom, in little tiny small letters, this is not a long-term loan, it's short-term. But much worse, have you seen the woman, the supposedly American Indian woman? She's got braided hairdo. She's just some actress. And she's saying that she's from some Indian tribe. She doesn't recognize the tribe, but that you can get $10,000. Even if you have bad credit, you get $10,000 in loan, but in very fine print. I had to stop the video, freeze it, and walk up to the 46-inch screen to see what it was saying in that small print. And that's what I'd like to see. One of the many things I'd like to see changed in this state. They got to stop that stuff. All the print should be the same size. Number one, it's much smaller. A couple of tricks. The print is much smaller. It's lighter in color, so it blends in more with the background. And they flash it by so fast that you can't tell what it says. And even if they're saying something, you ever hear what they say at the end? They go through this whole thing. You can't understand what they're saying. Well, anyway, I stopped it, froze it, and I went by real slow, which you're going to see. It was a $10,000 loan for 7 years, 84 months payment, $10,000 loan, 84 months payment. And wait till you hear how much the payback is in 7 years. Wait till you hear that. I'm going to hold that. It's got a little teaser for you. Anyway, also, congratulations. Last night, there's a new Miss Rhode Island, USA, in Rhode Island. And her name is Brittany Stenovich, I think her last name is. And she replaces the Miss USA that became Miss USA, Miss Rhode Island USA, that became Olivia, that became Miss USA. Olivia Coppola, right? How do you pronounce it? Coppo, I'm sorry. Olivia Coppo. This girl was crowned by her, as a matter of fact, last night. And we hope to get her on the next show. And we're going to show you a couple clips from, some of the crazy things I've seen in the last week or two and some of the crazy places I've been. By the way, I was very limited this weekend, even though this is a great time of year for events, parades, parties, all kinds of things, festivals, feasts. They had the Polish feast, which I missed over the weekend. I did go to the Dragon boat race in Pawtucket. Even though I'm running for office, I still have to, I find myself, I have to videotape this stuff. If I go there without a camera, people are always saying, where's your camera? But I like to do it anyway. And I was videotaping down there, but I had the most the most awful toothache I've had for 9 days. I went not listening to my doctor or my oral surgeon, both of who told me that there's no way of getting away with it. You got to remove the tooth. And I didn't want to lose the tooth, so I had a root canal done on it. Then they reworked the root canal 2 days later. This is Tuesday and Thursday of this past week. And Friday, I went to the event down in Pawtucket, Friday night, the Yachts Festival. Saturday, I went to the boat race, the Dragon boat race. I only lasted a couple hours. I had to leave. The pain was so bad. I ended up giving in. I called Dr. Larry Forty on Sunday, and he says, it's that bad, huh? I go, yeah. He says, meet me at my office in a half an hour. This is the doctor. By the way, he won, he was given in Rhode Island Monthly. He was rated, I don't know, the best family dentist in Rhode Island. Dr. Larry Forty, he's in Lincoln. And my surgeon, oral surgeon, he called me from down the Cape at 10 o'clock on Saturday night to see how I was doing. You've met him, Dr. Scoli. In fact, I think you know Dr. Scoli. We'll find out. I haven't even introduced my guest yet. You've got to find out if he doesn't know him, he's got to know about him when I tell him what I recently found out. Dr. Stephen Scoli, who's been on this show and will be on the show again, especially after what I just found out, that he presided in an awful thing he had to deal with that I don't know how he was able to do it, but he did. Anyway, we're going to get to my guest. We're going to show a few clips. Remember the 9-year-old boy that we had on here, Nolan? He was on the road show. Were you there, Corey, when he was on the road show? The guitar playing, the kid, young boy from Pawtucket. Well, anyway, I'm going to show a clip of him tonight from the road show. And we'll be back with our guest because I want to get into this. This is good stuff. My good friend, Dennis Hilliard. How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet me.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. How's that?
Nice to meet me.
Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Good, good. How's
After that tooth incident.
Oh, that was brutal. I had to bring that up. I mean, these guys were fun. Now, imagine your oral surgeon calling you at home at 10 o'clock just to make sure. He called me in the morning, Saturday morning, just to see how what you got to do. You're all right with that, and he prescribed another. He tried a different antibiotic because what I had was a abscess underneath the gum line. Apparently, I got something stuck under it because I eat granola cereal all the time. Yeah. Okay. And I guess something got stuck way down in the bowel, in the bottom there somewhere, and they couldn't get at it. He tried drilling. In fact, when Larry Forty twice, Tuesday and Thursday, he drilled, and I thought he was going to New York when he was drilling. I mean, he was down in that tooth. Holy good God. He brought out this big drill. They start with them that long. He had this thing, and he had it down. I thought it was going to come through my jaw. And the guy did unbelievable, and
Good.
against his wish, because he said to me, he says, "You're not going to save this tooth." And then I went to Stephen Scoley, and
Same thing.
I said, "Can you do the?" He goes, "Bob,
Not
I
gonna
don't think you're going to be able to save it." And guess what? They were both right. I was wrong. But I went 9 days of pain. 9 days. I lost 7 pounds. I couldn't eat.
One benefit.
One benefit, I could not eat. You know what I was eating? Yogurt, frozen yogurt. That's all I could eat.
Sure.
I didn't dare eat any, and I tried a couple pieces of toast one night. That was it. I didn't eat any food other than that. Anyway, how is it down at URI? You run the show down there, director of the forensic lab?
Well, I run the state crime laboratory at URI, and the laboratory's been at URI since the early 1950s. And we continue the tradition of serving the state of Rhode Island as a forensic laboratory.
Well, no, we went down there. I went down there.
You were
with
down
Kim.
there.
We
You
went down there.
seen
Saw you set up. Now, probably got good news now. I understand that. Who moved out? Who moved
Well,
out
the
next door
College
to
of
you?
Pharmacy,
The pharmacy
who was
moved out
occupying the same building as us.
in the same part. Now you should be able to move in the whole damn building, right?
It's sort of like take it over if we can, but we're working with the administration on getting them to approve space.
It should
for
be
us
a
to-
slam dunk.
You'd think so, but there
Of course
are
it's a slam dunk.
other competing interests on the university that
Like
want
what?
space.
Like who?
I can't say, but I know there's people out there who would like that building as well.
Really?
But I think this is a building built for laboratories.
Right.
And to build laboratory space is 3 times as expensive as office space.
Right.
So it should keep it a laboratory space.
Why? Other people looking at it for offices?
Yes.
Shouldn't even be considered.
Probably not.
Should not even be considered.
Well, it's way above my pay grade. So
Who do I got to talk to?
when you bring
Who do I have to
President
talk
Dooley
to?
on the show, you
I'll
ask
get him
President
down. I'll
Dooley.
get him on. Write it down, Corey.
President
We'll get him
David
on.
Dooley.
David Dooley.
Bob
Hang
Wagon.
down your head, David Dooley. We're coming after you. Not John. Tom Dooley. We're going to
Dooley.
David, his younger brother. Anyway, that's ridiculous. Don't tell me they could even consider making that beautiful laboratory space, turn it into office space. First, it's got the high ceilings. It's laid out for a lab. It's not laid out for a.
Well, there are certain spots that have office spaces put in, and that'll be fine. But I wouldn't be converting lab space to office space if we had my way. But
Right.
well,
Plus,
I mean,
you need the space. You're
Right.
cramped over there.
Right. We've been cramped for many years, and the university has accommodated as much as we can. When I started working in the laboratory, there were 3 people working at the bench and a secretary.
Right.
Now we have 8 full-time people and 2 part-time people, all of them working at the
Wow.
lab. So we've expanded some of our space at the university, but in different parts. So my offices are on the 2nd floor of Fogarty. Our fingerprints and trace people are in the basement of Fogarty, and our firearms section is actually across the street in the public safety building.
That's right.
And then
That's where the tank is.
No, the tank was. It's like
They
you know,
moved that now?
Right, they knocked down that building to build a new road.
Cut it
And
out.
so instead of moving the tank closer to the building, they decided to move it a half mile down the road, opposite the Ryan Center. So it's sitting in a garage opposite the Ryan
So
Center.
wait a minute now. If you're doing dealing with a crime like they show
Firearms,
on CSI,
yeah,
but
yeah.
involving a firearm, right?
Right.
Like the CSI thing. If you're handling a crime,
My people don't look anything like that.
I noticed that. I didn't see anybody looks like her or even her.
If I had an Abby Shuto, I'd be all set. But
Yeah, huh? She doesn't miss, does she? She doesn't miss at all. All right, so you run the Rhode Island State Crime Lab, forensic examiner.
Right.
Right.
So if someone were to bring a
Yeah,
weapon
let's go back to that. It's
to
a
the
weapon
laboratory,
to be
a
tested.
firearm to be tested.
You have to take it a half mile away down to put it in the tank, shoot the bullet in the, you've seen it on the TV where they shoot the bullet in the water.
Right, exactly.
I've seen the
Yep.
tank, and the bullet doesn't get harmed in
Damaged,
any way, doesn't get damaged, doesn't get affected. Therefore, we get a perfect match. Do we have to go? Can we
Wanna
get
see a
that
bullet?
I think that's down in the back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We started to jump ahead.
That's all right. You said I was going to do that anyway.
This is a bullet under the microscope.
Oh,
2
there's
bullets
the
side by
comparison.
side. This will be the breakdown of the gun in here. Every part of the gun is a tool, so the gun
Right.
leaves tool marks. So the
All
tool
right.
marks on the breech face of the cartridge,
Which is from
Firing
the fire
pin,
pin.
and
Firing
the
pin
breech face here.
hits the back of the bullet.
and then the barrel impresses these markings that you see here.
Right.
So the markings you see here on the bullet impressed by the barrel.
That's
if you
from
go to the
the
next
rifling
slide,
of the barrel.
The rifling of the barrel, exactly. And then if you go to the next slide, behind that one,
Oh, there's another one behind it. Okay.
that's the actual cartridge casing that has the firing pin impression
All right, that's on
and
the
the
back.
breech face markings.
That's here.
That's from here.
on the back.
That's right.
And it's distinctive.
It is distinctive.
Each gun is distinctive.
They're considered individual markings. If they can match 2 to more, they're going to say they came from the same weapon. So you match 2 bullets came from the same weapon, 2 cartridges came from the same weapon.
Is that a Glock?
This is a 9mm. I'm not sure it's a Glock, but it is a 9mm
like
semi-automatic handgun. Usually Glock, you can tell by the firing pin impressions, usually it's rectangular rather than round.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. They have a unique firing pin impression. It's sort of rectangular.
So right away you know what it's
pretty much
a Glock.
Yeah, there's another manufacturer that makes a similar one, but most of them out there are Glocks because Glocks seem to be a very popular weapon.
Right.
And the
I like them. They
semi-automatics
shoot
are
well. They're pretty accurate guns.
They're very expensive guns too. But
yeah, they are.
These are.
I have a 9. I have a 9 Glock.
There you go. So that's actually a breakdown of a 9mm handgun.
So they come in with this weapon.
Right, or a rifle, something of the matter.
And you have to test it. You have to shoot it.
Well, first thing we're going to examine it to make sure it's in safe working order.
Right.
My examiner is going to take it to their bench level. They're going to look at it, make sure all the parts are present. They're going to make sure that it is easily loadable, that all the springs work on it.
Right.
And then they're going to take it down to the tank. They're going to pack it up into their car, drive it a half mile down to the tank, unload it from the car, go into the basement where the tank is, load it, fire it, collect the bullets and cartridge casings, and then pack it back up and bring it up the hill again.
Now let me ask you a question. I know I've seen this on TV. I don't know how true it can be, if it's true or not true. What do they call it when a person takes evidence and brings it somewhere?
That's transfer.
Chain of custody. Chain of custody, right? Now, I work for you, and I'm taking the weapon. You send me down to that half a mile away to get that weapon checked.
And you don't go by yourself.
I don't go by myself.
Right. You go with another examiner.
Okay. We get sidetracked. Something happens, and there's a car accident. We get out of the car to go take care of or help out who's in the accident, and we leave the gun in the car.
Not a good idea.
As soon as that gun's left alone.
I called 911.
Soon as right or wrong. As soon as that gun's left alone.
Well, so long as it's secured. I mean, if it's locked up in your trunk and secure, that's okay. So long as it doesn't leave your line of sight. If you leave the car, there's a possibility that it can become contaminated.
Right.
The issues can become, the chain of custody could be broken.
Right. And so somebody could get off a murder for something like that.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen on my watch.
But no, why I'm saying this is that tank should be at your building.
Absolutely. And I'm making the argument that we need to move that tank back up the hill so that the examiners only have to maybe walk a few steps to it rather than travel a half a mile away.
Again, that's why I make that point.
Right.
That's exactly
You're exactly right.
Yeah. Because that could happen. Something like that could happen. I'm troubled by what I just saw on the news today. This guy that allegedly killed his girlfriend's 4-year-old son, beating him to death.
Yep.
There were text messages, him texting her right after the crime, admitting to it, saying, I punched the effing blah, blah, blah kid 3 times in the head because the woman called him saying that the child's eyes were rolling in the back of his head and he wasn't responding and he was shaking and everything else. He ended up dying.
Gave him trauma.
Yeah. And this guy's admitting it, and here he is in court, and his lawyer, that's why, sometimes I don't have a whole lot of respect for lawyers. They're getting him off. He may very well get off because they're saying they got the text messages
from his phone
before they got the subpoena to get the text messages from his phone.
But they could have used the received text messages on her phone probably. If he sent those text messages to her, she received them, they could use those to trace them back. So I don't know what the specifics are on the case, but cell phones are becoming a big issue in forensics because they contain a lot of information. They contain as much information as a file cabinet worth of paper.
Sure. Well, yeah, exactly. They tell the time. The time stamp is automatic.
Right. And they give you an IP address is where they were.
Where they were.
A cell thing would tell you where they are. So there's a lot of information. I mean, you see this on the TV shows all the time. Not that they can track a cell phone like that, but certainly there are ways to do things like this. And in Rhode Island, the state police are the main people who handle those kinds of cases.
But they are able to track cell phones.
They can, yes.
In fact, they use them constantly. In fact, I saw a case recently, and I think it was a real one. I don't know if it was something I saw on TV, but I believe it was a real case where the cops put a homing device on a car.
To track the person, yes.
Track the person. They let him go, and they put a homing device on his car.
And I understand that there's a issue before the higher courts to decide whether or not that's legal or not.
Right.
Because they're not tracking the person, they're tracking the car. So the issue is it a violation of their civil rights not to be tracked? So they're tracking a car as opposed to the individual. So there's all kinds of legal issues. I think you need the ACLU here and some good prosecutors here to talk that out. Yeah, that's quite an open area, yeah.
You know what I have a little trouble with too? How prosecutors, they work for the Attorney General's office, and then they go become defense attorneys. It's like learning everything, how it's done in the prosecutor's office, and then you become a defense attorney.
That happens, yes. And it
happens very often.
Happens in the forensic science world too.
Really?
Someone will retire after 20 years of experience and go to work.
Then they're right. They work for defense attorneys. It's all in the money. It's all about the money.
Yeah, it is. It always is. The space we talked about, it's about the money.
Yeah.
If I had the money to renovate space, they give me as much as I want. When we got a $400,000 federal grant in 2003, we got 7 more windows. We got that much more space. Yeah, we got that much more space.
That's it?
Well, it was enough to
just got the windows?
And what behind them as well. But we talk about that as a possibly open up. But money brings you more prestige, more power, more ability to do things.
That's my problem. I've never been money oriented, motivated. I've never been like, that's not ever been I've always thought that was evil. That brings the evil out of people, and it does.
We're always fighting for more money. I mean,
right.
The states around us, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, they've all either built or refurbished new state laboratories in the last 3 to 5 years. Rhode Island has done.
You didn't say New Hampshire.
New Hampshire has expanded their public safety laboratories within the building because a part of the laboratories from the health department moved out of the building, and that forensic laboratory took over that space. I want to say about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. So they've expanded. So yeah, a lot of people putting money into the labs now.
Well, they should. I mean, and your lab has been used for some pretty high-level cases.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Tell us a couple of them. Yeah.
Well,
a couple that I know of that I talked to you and I talked to your partner there about. One with the rifle.
Yeah, the rifle. There was a rifle, and that was kind of outside the laboratories, more of a university thing. My fire examiner, Bob Hathaway, at the time, was consulted by a defense attorney who was working for Dr. William Pepper, who was representing James O'Ray at the time.
James O'Ray was
in jail for admitting to shooting Dr. Martin Luther King. And of course, after he admitted it, 3 days later, he said, I didn't do it.
Right.
So that created a big conspiracy theory. Now, the cartridge case found in the rooming house where James O'Ray had rented a room, the common bathroom, matched that rifle that was found outside the building later on. The bullet recovered from Dr. King's neck was not identified to his rifle, but had the same class characteristics.
Like the caliber and
the number of lands and grooves.
Right.
They were the same.
But it didn't perfectly match.
Those individual markings that we showed before did not match up.
It didn't match up totally like that.
Right, right. There were some consistencies in the widths of the lands and grooves, but these fine lines were not matched up by the FBI and by a forensic science investigation later on by Congress. But the story still continued, that there was a second shooter.
Right.
That the rifle that James O'Ray had purchased wasn't the rifle that actually fired the shot, that he was set up as a patsy. So with the advent of new forensics in 2000, Dr. William Pepper was interested in seeing if there was new technology now that could be used.
Now, you said Dr. Pepper was working for James O'Ray?
He's a lawyer who worked for James O'Ray, but he was a good friend of the King family. So
what?
Yes. In fact, he marched with the King family.
They know where the money is, huh? What?
He had marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in one of his marches in the South.
Was he looking for money falling out of his pockets or something?
I don't know. Bob didn't get fully paid for his work on this case, so I don't know where the money went. But the question was there new technology? Because right around the end of the 90s,
early 2000,
DNA was being used to reopen cases. After O.J. Simpson,
right.
DNA was being used a lot by defense lawyers to reopen cases and get people out of jail. And they have Project Innocence that came out of that, who claimed they've had 300 people let out of jail because of DNA. So Dr. Pepper was looking for a new technology that could answer the question of whether or not that bullet actually came from the rifle that James O'Ray had purchased.
Wow.
So he asked Bob Hathaway if there was new technology, and Bob said there was, and we can try it. So they did try the technology, and that was using scanning electron microscopy. That's using a high-powered microscope to examine the bullets, sort of like you saw on the front, to try to match them up.
The lands and grooves
and
again.
Bob had 2 other experts working with him.
Right.
And they did the scanning electron microscopy, and their conclusion was the same as previous, as inconclusive.
Wow.
There wasn't
Now, that's
sufficient.
scary.
There wasn't sufficient information to either exclude it or
include
it as identification. So it remains a mystery as to whether or not the rifle purchased by James O'Reilly and left at the scene by him or someone else actually fired that shot, or whether there was a second shot.
Or what?
Or there was a second shooter.
Right. So now that kind of makes me think there's a second shooter when you say that. When they can't conclusively identify that weapon as being the weapon used in the murder or killing of
And
Dr.
so you
Martin
have
Luther
the
King.
conspiracy theory.
Right.
That there was a second weapon out there.
Well,
Because
what's the alternative theory?
that for some reason the weapon itself was damaged over time and couldn't produce the markings that were produced back in '68 when Dr. King reported.
Well, if it's not shot again, I don't see why it could change. How could the barreling, the rifling of the barrel change?
Over age and time, depending on the condition under which it was maintained. Was in Tennessee for all those years. We don't know what the humidity was, or
Right.
And another thing that Mr. Hathaway noticed when he got the rifle in, that the barrel was fouled. Knowing the people who had worked on the gun before,
Right.
he knew that they would have, like himself, cleaned the barrel.
Right.
So it maybe indicates
Somebody
that
shot it
somebody was
after.
shooting afterwards.
Oh gosh.
It's like a souvenir. Would
Right.
you like a cartridge case, a
Oh,
bullet that
no.
was fired from the gun that
Right.
perhaps killed Dr. Martin Luther King?
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't, but some people would.
Some people would, I guess.
Just check eBay. We'll see.
Yeah. Somebody's got them. Somebody's got. Wow, that's weird. So there you go with a conspiracy theory from that one. Then you had another big case.
Which one are you talking about now? I've had
New
some.
York.
New York.
Yeah. Son of.
Son of Sam. Oh, again, that was Bob Hathaway. Yeah, that was his case. That was before he came to us. He had it while he was in the Connecticut State Laboratory. He does have a cartridge case and a bullet from the gun that was used in the Son of Sam killings. Wow. So he did work on it. He was actually an intern in the New York City lab at the time that they were investigating that, and that's how he got involved in that case. So that was a long time ago.
Was it because of a parking ticket they caught him?
That's right. That's exactly how they got him. They got him in the area of the murder, and that's how.
Right. He had parked his vehicle right down the street.
Right.
On the same street or right around the corner.
And that basically tells you that forensics in itself will not solve a case.
Right.
It's good police work that solves cases.
Sure.
Talking to people, doing that investigation. If the police officer or the detective who did that work never did that work, probably would never caught him. He'd still be out there today. So I mean, it's police work that gets the job done.
Well, and
forensics help them.
Right.
And help them put them in the right direction. But it's police work that solves things. People talking, people finding out who's mad at one another, what kind of gripes they have, that kind of thing that
motives, of course,
brings you to the suspect.
Obviously, motive.
And then forensics helps tie the suspect to the case.
Well, they just had a case, or not a case, they just had a fire. It scared the life out of me because it was right where my son Zachary's grandmother lives. And when I heard it was a woman and a young person, young boy killed, I'm thinking my son may have spent the night there with his mother, because it's on a street, right on the street.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say the address; they just said the street name in Uxbridge.
Yeah, that'll get your blood pressure going.
Yeah. Oh, and I had no way to call him, no way to get a hold of him or find out, if he was okay. I mean, that bothered me all night until I found out later it wasn't them. It wasn't them. But those people, what can you get from a fire when?
Well, you can. I mean, it's we've had major fires in Pawtucket. You had a factory burned down, and they couldn't determine cause.
I was there.
Right?
I mean, I videotaped it. Me and my son videotaped
and the
that.
wind flowing through there. They can never determine the point of origin and/or the cause. But most fires, you can determine cause and origin.
Right.
And you rely upon a special investigator in Rhode Island, the State Fire Marshal's Office. City of Providence has trained investigators to deal with cause and origin in fires, or origin and cause, I like to say it now, because they make those trainings that allow them to go through all that debris and to find out where the fire started.
Right, where the accelerant, if they find an accelerant.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of evidence is destroyed. Make no mistake about that. In fact, fires are usually sometimes used to cover up crimes, homicides and/or robberies.
Right.
We had a case in Warwick where they burned down a pizza place, and they got caught up in the pizza place. They got caught up in the fire. So the arsonist got caught up in their own fire.
That happened in Pawtucket many years ago.
That happens.
It's a friend of mine's place, a pizza place in Pawtucket.
So that happens a lot. So, but there are ways to determine what happened to the fire, and occasionally there are forensic evidence that's left behind that we can use to connect someone to. There is always a possibility you can find fingerprints in the unburned section of the room or the house,
Right.
and that way we can tie someone to being there. Or they may have left the gas can behind and they have fingerprints on the gas can. That works.
Well,
So-
yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
And CSI, I know I asked you every time we went to one part of your lab, I ask, oh, can they say they can do this on CSI, can you do this here? This, right, the different things?
Exactly.
And it was pretty cool to find out how, and first of all, that in fact, when you see this thing that looks like a tank,
Well,
what do you got there? You got
this is
one?
the this is something that Abby works with all the time on NCIS, the
Okay.
mass spec.
What is that?
That's the GC mass spec that's for doing drugs and drugs of abuse and toxicology on. So if we had a white powder,
Right.
we would put that in a solvent and shoot it on here, and we'd find out it's cocaine or heroin or what have you.
Right.
We use it for exactly what we were talking about, arson investigations, to determine whether we find an accelerant like gasoline or kerosene.
Right.
Or
What do you
have
put something inside there?
Actually, inject this material right on top here. It goes onto a column that's in this oven, and the results come out on a printer, and you get analysis of what's in the sample.
Wow. And what is this other thing here?
That's a Fournier transform infrared spectrometer.
Oh my God, is it a short name?
We use that for paints and for fibers, for dyes and fibers. So here's a hit and run case where a paint chip from the car was left behind, a paint chip was found in their clothing, and then another paint chip was recovered from the suspect vehicle. You can see at least 3 layers of colors there.
So the paint chip from the car.
Right, was left behind on the street.
On the
There was a
street.
paint chip in her clothing, on her jeans.
The girl that was hit
And then we got a known paint chip from the car itself, the suspect vehicle, which had damage.
after the fact.
After the fact. And then you can see the layers of paint. You can actually see 3 colors there. And there's a clear coat, too.
Right.
There's also paint that was smeared on her clothing. So there's some paint here on her sleeve. And that all the green paint matched up in all 4.
Wow.
And then the other layers all matched up.
Conclusively.
Yes, by infrared analysis. So when you shine a light at infrared spectrometry through that dye, you get these patterns and they all overlap. So they're all consistent with one another.
So this graph is all the different
different layers.
Well, the different layers and the different.
Right, 1 layer for each of the four samples. So this is the green from her clothing, and this is the 3 paint chips from found at different layers.
Wow.
And after the defense, now they say on CSI they never go to court, right? Because they all plead out.
Right,
In this
yeah.
case, when the lawyers were shown this, and we always talk to lawyers, we never talk to suspects directly, the lawyer asked this guy to plead out because there was enough information here that basically locked him into the case.
Right.
So he took a plea on this case. So this is a pretty good case to show.
Wow. Well, actually, the one I was going to talk about.
We were talking about the tank. I don't think it's here. I didn't take a picture of the tank.
The tank. It looks like a aquarium tank.
Well, it's
And
stainless steel, yeah.
It's got the arch, and it's got the petri dish. That's on the petri dish. You heat up the petri dish with some a liquid there, and it attaches itself to the material.
I don't know what you're talking about right now, Bob.
Come on! You put these clips inside. You hang a piece of.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the fuming chamber.
Okay.
The fingerprint fuming chamber.
Oh, excuse me.
Cyanoacrylate.
It looks. What does it look like?
It looks like a big aquarium.
Hello.
It's
You're the expert.
blue,
huh?
has a glass
Yeah.
door.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, right. You got the hot plate at the bottom, which we
Right.
put the super glue onto.
I thought I described it pretty well, didn't I?
It did.
I thought it
I'm
described it
sorry.
pretty well.
I was thinking firing tank for some reason.
Yeah,
it's not like
it's
that.
got a hot plate and
Yep.
it's got the little archway. It reminds me of passing through the tickets in the theater.
Yeah, so
It's
you
got
can
the
put,
little-
there's a
yeah.
little thing you can slide open.
You slide this hot plate in there, and you slide this petri dish on the hot plate, and you put a super glue on there, and the super glue heats up, and it becomes a liquid.
Vapor.
I mean a vapor,
Right.
and it collects on the fingerprints,
Correct.
on the oil, I guess, right?
Yeah, the water and oil that comprises the fingerprint, mostly water, oils, amino acids, fatty oils. So yeah, it will attach itself to those areas and then show the ridges. And these are an example of the different type of ridges you would have for a fingerprint. So all of us have patterns on our
Right.
fingertips.
Everybody's got a different pattern.
Well, everyone eventually has a different pattern. We may You and I may have shared loops, but our loops will be slightly different. So these are general patterns.
Right.
So if our suspect pattern from a crime scene is a loop and our suspect only has whorls and arches, then it couldn't be from him. But if he does have a loop, we can then compare the loops.
But also, they might have somebody where they've had a cut or something.
That can be too. In fact, you can see that in here in a blow up. So this is
Right,
our
just like I
known.
said right there.
Yep, this is our known inked impression. That's a cut. That would be a cut. That would be permanent to that person from the time they received it.
Right.
And it'll become an identifier. Now this is the latent print found at the crime scene, and this are matching up in terms of overall pattern. That's a loop pattern.
That is matching up.
And then at each of these lines goes to a secondary point. So here number 12 goes to a bifurcation here.
Right, which
ridge
is over
ending.
here. Yeah.
And then it goes down to another bifurcation, and then a dot and a ridge ending. So those four are right there, here, and they're all right here.
Right.
If you went around and
How
did all
many
12,
have to be on for it to be considered 12?
No, it's left up to the examiner, his experience. Most of them like to see 8 or more. They do 12 because the juror is going to look at this. It's a jury that decides. 12 is a common number the jury would be familiar with the face of a clock.
Right.
So they like
Plus
to show
there's 12 jurors usually.
12, yeah, so that's what you like to do. You like to show it so the jury can understand it. Because it's not my job to decide guilt or innocence.
Right.
That's the jury's job.
Just the facts.
Just the facts.
Just the facts, man.
And to stay within the limits of science.
And how did it come about that somebody decided to put super glue on that petri dish? Was it New York detective or something? New Jersey or something?
New Jersey, I believe. It was a detective who had just super glued his coffee cup, and it dropped a couple of drops on the hot plate under his coffee cup. And
so he was a klutz.
Yeah, I guess. And then what happened is over time he saw a fingerprint pattern form on the ceramic coffee mug. And he was looking at it and he said, that's my fingerprint. And he noticed that the super glue had dropped onto the hot plate and had fumed up and had caused this, so he decided to investigate it. And I don't know if he's living in Hawaii now, but he did that serendipity kind of thing that just happens once in a lifetime to somebody. It just happened and he exploited the thing, and it grew into a great asset and resource for the forensic laboratories.
Yeah, but why? What do you mean Hawaii? Did he get patented or something?
I would hope he did. I don't know if he did, but I know that it became a boon for the forensic sciences, and every fingerprint examiner I know uses superglue in one form or another to develop fingerprints on solid objects.
Wow. Well, I mentioned at the top of my show my oral surgeon, Dr. Stephen Scully. Do you know him?
I don't know him by name, no.
You've got to find out in a minute.
Okay.
We're going to come back. I got a clip. I want to show that clip. All right, we got that clip ready? I want to show people what they're up against in this country, this economy, especially with the banks and these loan companies. My God, it's terrible how they are allowed to. They're robbing people. This is loan sharking. It's worse than loan sharking.
Guy could put up to $10,000 in your bank account by tomorrow, based on trusting you, with no security of any kind, just your signature. So call 866-SKY-1224, even if your credit's not perfect, and even if you've applied before. That's 866-SKY-1224.
You see that? You can borrow up to $10,000. Now she looked like an Indian squaw.
Sure.
Sure she does, right? What tribe is she from?
Don't know. She didn't say.
$10,000, right?
That's all I
And
heard.
you don't even have to have great credit. $10,000 you can get. You know, the payments are $747 a month for 84 months. The payback is $64,000 plus.
Ouch.
In 7 years. You borrow $10,000 today, and 7 years later, you got to pay $64,000 back. Well, you're paying it back as you go. It's not even better. It would be better if you could pay it one lump sum at the end, because then you'd have that money all that time. But you start paying, you borrow $10,000 today, and a month later, you got to start paying $750, $749. First month payment, $749 every month. $750 every month on a $10,000 loan. That's like 1/12 of the money, 1/13 of the money you borrowed.
Right.
Right?
In 12
Each
months,
payment.
you'd pay $10,000 to them in 1 year.
Right. You give them all their money back in 1 year, right? Or 12, call it 14 months. You give them their money back, right? They got all their money back. Now they got the juice, all the juice for 6 more years, 5.5 more, 5 3/4 years. $64,000. We're in the wrong business, man.
Yeah, I get like a 1/10% on my savings right now.
Yeah, you're getting 1% if you got money in the bank.
If you're doing that. If you even get 1%, I don't think you're getting 1%
No.
of the money.
But what's amazing is the banks got all that money from us, from the federal government, for less than 1/2 of 1%, closer to 1/4 of 1%. They got that money to loan, and the major mistake that was made was it $780 billion, something like that. I know it was up there.
Huge.
That the banks got, and as a realtor, we've never saw any of it. You bring a person to you go through the whole thing showing a person 35 houses. They finally find the one they love, and they can't get a mortgage for something that happened to them 12 years ago or something. So they don't get a mortgage because the banks are so protective of their money that not even theirs, but yet they'll give it to their buddies, the big guys.
Sure.
But they're only paying, again, they're only paying less than 1/2% interest on that money. What they should have done with that money, instead of giving it to the banks, they should have given everybody a voucher. Every household in the United States, like they did in Germany. Germany has the best economy in the world right now, do they not?
They do.
And what they did, do you know what they did with them? When they had the big problem right after us, which Greece is still having, and Portugal's still having, and Ireland's still having, what they did over there is they give everybody a voucher, every family. And the voucher, I don't know, $6,000, $7,000. They could do it in this country. I think I was figuring it out one day. They could give everybody in this country $8,000. And here's the way to do it. You don't give them the money because you get somebody, they'd be at the casino or the track or doing something, blowing the money. They have to buy something. They have to buy a car. They have to buy a new refrigerator. They have to get their kitchen done. And what does that do? It stimulates the economy, right?
Creates more jobs.
Exactly. Even the people, I go as far as to say the people that make the boxes for the refrigerators will be back in business. The Key Container in Pawtucket makes boxes. They'd be hiring people because they'd have to make more boxes because so many refrigerators would be bought, right? With the ice makers, everybody go, wow, I got $8,000. I can buy a whole new kitchen.
The recycling guys will make money because they'll be taking all that white.
All the old stuff. Oh, yeah. Plus they'd be building better appliances. Will be using less electricity,
right.
and on and on. They'd be buying new. One of my biggest pet peeves is the water usage in this country, the wasting of water, and the biggest waste of water, single thing that wastes of water is the toilet. Number one, like 40,000 gallons a year of wasted water between the old pre-1995 toilets and the new ones. They use 5 gallons of water. The new ones use 1.6 gallons, and some of them use even less, 1.25 gallons.
Correct.
So that 5-gallon tank, every time you flush it, it's 5 gallons, 5 gallons, 5 gallons. And even if you're not going to do the big thing, you know, it's 5 gallons, 5 gallons.
Sure.
And it just uses so much water. So for every one they take out and put in the new one, they're saving that much water. So with that $8,000, people would be redoing bathrooms, and the money would have been moved around. Everybody would have been, all the transportation, the company, the trucking companies, everybody would have benefited by it. Instead, the banks benefit by it. And sadly, Obama, who supposedly was going to, straighten the whole economy out, the guy, Eric Holder, the guy he brought in.
Attorney General.
Yeah. What did he do before?
I don't remember.
He did a lot of work for the stock market. He did a lot for
Wall
Street.
The Wall Street.
So he's tied in with all those guys. And then the guy, his assistant, his second in command he brings over, same thing. He's hooked up with those people. So you know how many convictions they had? Remember one of the things, and by the way, I'm not dishing them to the point where I'm not voting for them. I'm just saying it's just a fact. I mean, I'm closer to a Democrat. I'm an independent, but I'm closer to a Democrat than a Republican sometimes. Anyway, he's got Holder and I can't remember his assistant's name, and a couple of the other people they brought over. They're all from the stock market. They're all from all those guys that supposedly Holder was brought in to prosecute the speculators, jacking the price of oil up. You know how many prosecutions they've had in 3.5 years? 0. Is that amazing? 0. They've had none. I mean, something don't make sense there. And on top of it, in the 2008 election, I just recently read this, you would think the stock market, the people in the stock market would be more Republican than Democrat? No.
More Democrat.
Yeah. $16 million they got, the Obama campaign got in the 2008 election, and McCain got $9 million.
That was just something.
Wow. And that's why the banks and the stock market itself are the ones that are really benefiting by this economy. That's why there's no more middle class, because they're just killing us with stuff like that, they're getting away with charging that kind of interest. The usury...
It's a crime.
It is a crime. The usury, and they're getting away with it. They're bilking us out of billions of dollars, and some poor guy goes and robs a Cumberland Farms, he gets 10 years in jail because you can figure out that he was in there.
He was in there, right.
Even if he had a hood on and everything else, because you found the hair inside the hood or something, right?
That's a possibility, yes. That's a good possibility. We can find out.
No, I got that out of the way.
Anyway.
But it's amazing to see how far... Well, you've been in this business how long?
Since 1980.
Really?
And actually 2 years before that, as a graduate student, I was working with the then director in breathalyzer training. So 1977, I started my working in this. Right?
Wow. It's a long time.
It is a long time. And I'm not on state ERS, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm on TIA CREF, so that banking stuff you've been talking about,
right.
I've been taking a hit on the stock market.
Have you?
That's coming back.
I took a real hit on it years ago. Now, what do we got here? What is this?
This is part of our crime school. As I told you, we started.
Oh, right, yeah.
We train our CSIs.
These are all police officers, right?
These are all police officers, and they come to URI to train in crime scene investigation. The real CSIs, the guys who do the crime scene investigation in Rhode Island, southeastern Massachusetts, eastern Connecticut.
And they don't have people slapping them in the back of the head, nothing like that. Right? That's the #1 show on television. Do you know that?
NCIS is the #1 show on television. I do watch it on a regular basis.
Really?
I like Abby. What can I say?
Oh, I like Abby too.
But these guys are geared up to go into a crime scene. They're in these Tyvek suits for 2 reasons. One, not to contaminate the scene with their own physical evidence, not to leave their hairs and fibers behind, their fingerprints or DNA.
But how about when they're walking, they're stepping on
Well,
stuff?
they're supposed to have booties on. You see, these guys, you can see the booties in here. They're wearing booties. So they're wearing booties. So they wear booties and gloves. So they're supposed to gear up and wear booties and gloves and protect themselves from contaminating crime scene, but protect themselves from hazards they may find in the crime scene.
Right.
Because you have blood there, bloodborne viruses, there may be chemical hazards, there may be sharp hazards. They have to protect themselves so they don't have an issue in the crime scene. So that's 2 reasons for wearing this kind of suit. It may not be necessary to wear this all the time to every crime scene, but if you have a homicide, when there's blood in there, you certainly want to protect yourself and protect the crime scene.
All right, well listen, I'm going to go to a clip because, you know what I want, Corey? I want the clip on tattoos. Tell them I want the clip on tattoos because you made me think of something with Abby.
We talked about tattoos last time I was here.
You did.
As an identifier, right?
It's big identifier. These guys, these criminals. You want to show the moose? Does he want to show the moose? Huh?
Do the moose first.
No, go right to the...
It'll be a little while.
It'll be a little while? Tell me when we get the tattoo ready. Yeah, because why would a criminal, first of all, get a tattoo? Because that's a distinguishing mark right off the bat.
Well, it makes him part of the gang that he's part of. That's the whole thing. It's their indoctrination to a gang. They wear these tattoos that identify them as a part of a gang in most cases.
What's with the, I saw a guy the other day with a...
Little teardrop there?
Teardrop. What is that? Is that prison? Somebody said that's prison.
It may be that you've seen some rockers wear them as well. I mean, look at Kiss. They used to wear all kinds of makeup.
Yeah, that's makeup.
Yeah, but
tattoos a little different. That's a little more permanent. Yeah. You got that? It's ready?
Absolutely more
Run
permanent.
I want to show, we're going to show, you ever see LA Ink?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God. I mean, the girl's actually a good looking girl.
Yet? Not yet.
Okay.
Hey, Big Z.
Dude, I'm all by myself. Are you parking?
No, I'm not gonna go today.
What? I came here today and Kat wasn't here and I called her and at first I thought she was joking.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, that hurts, dude. I don't feel like dealing with that today. Getting like my ex's name tattooed on my neck hurt enough, and then like the divorce was painful enough. Like, I don't think the laser should add any more pain to that. I don't want to feel it anymore.
Dude, I don't want to do it by myself.
You'll be fine, I'm sorry.
You're lame.
You can hang in there, right?
I guess basically she didn't come because she's scared of the pain, which I totally understand. Okay, love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Good luck.
Okay, Pixie,
You ready?
No, dude. I'm nervous and I'm scared and I'm by myself.
So which tattoo are we looking at today?
This one?
Okay, let's just take a peek. But this is a very, very treatable tattoo.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your pain threshold. How is it?
It's good.
If you find it's too uncomfortable, let us know. We can numb you up. I can give you a couple small injections, or I can also give you a numbing cream. We leave it on 30 minutes and wipe it off.
Yeah, I want to be here. Like, I want to feel it. I mean, I just want to know it.
We can always stop. At any time, we can stop and change the treatment method if we need to. My one concern is that it's rather large, and she doesn't want to use anesthetic. So you don't have to, but I highly recommend it because it can be uncomfortable without it. We'll get started on 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. You're doing great. You can see it's already significantly fixed.
Whoa, dude, that's crazy. Put that air on that oh my God. Oh.
We're almost done.
Get it over with.
Sarah, you want to turn this down to 2?
Yeah.
No.
All right,
Okay.
we'll keep it at 2.
Backing out now, dude.
Be bad? Done. We're done.
Done.
I'm done torturing you for today. You did amazing.
It's way worse.
Next time, I'll tell you what, next time humor me and we'll do a little anesthesia, just a little bit. Okay.
I don't regret not being numbed or using a topical cream because I definitely wanted to feel what it was like. I definitely didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was, and I think next time I might opt for being numbed.
And I'm really proud of you. You did great. I rarely see people who come in here who do what you do, which is not get numbed up at all. So you're kind of a badass.
You did really great.
That was painful, that was emotionally draining. I'm completely exhausted, and I'm in shock.
Dude. Up next, Pixie's back.
Dude, it was so bad.
But she's not getting any sympathy from me. Why would you want to go through that? And Alana proves her love of hairless cats is priceless.
I just never thought that it would ever be worth to spend that much.
Well, how do you like that? For all these people that got tattoos, that girl didn't realize that it wasn't a one application to remove that tattoo. First of all, it's much more painful than getting the tattoo.
Yeah, she thought she could put some cream on it and
yeah, it's got to be
dissolve it
done.
and draw it.
Yeah. I can
Not
take
happening.
the pain. I can take the pain.
No, they're burning that thing off.
Yes, and when
7
it's all
layers of
done,
skin.
I think red's tougher to get out than
Probably.
the other colors.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, there'll be a
Oh, the
discoloration
shadow, right.
on that skin. It'll look like, and I have them. I got burnt when I was a kid, and I have a skin graft
Scar, yeah,
where they
sure.
cut skin off and put it somewhere else.
Sure.
Well, I have blotches.
Sure.
And that's what they'll have. All those pretty good. They're both pretty girls, but those tattoos, I don't.
They're permanent.
It's troubling because it's unlike every other fad that's gone through during your time, my time, and everybody else's, Corey's time, everybody else's time. We had engineer boots, long hair, short hair. These kids, even the spikes will go, they can take the spikes out. Wasn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
With the spikes in the cheeks. But they can take them out. Those tattoos, man. That girl, Kat,
Yeah.
she's a pretty woman.
Yep.
But she's covered with tattoos. And now you say it wouldn't be
work hard.
difficult to tie her to a crime,
No,
would it?
Would not.
It'd be pretty darn easy.
You get her on video, that's it. It ties her right in.
Yeah, it's all over there. Now, what do you got? What is a science partnership?
Well, we had this forensic science partnership. As you know, the crime lab's been with the university since the early 1950s.
University of Rhode Island, by
Right.
the way.
And in 1998, 99, Dr. Carruthers, Robert Carruthers, who was
Right.
president at the time,
Of
offered
URI.
these partnerships grants. And so I partnered with Dr. Jimmy Oxley in chemistry, who now has a Center of Explosives Excellence at URI Chemistry, and Dr. Chrisman in engineering, which also has a Center of Excellence as well. And we created the Forensic Science Partnership that is combining a lot of professors and staff at URI that have an interest in working in forensic sciences. The most outward sign of the partnership is the seminar series. That's been
I love
going
your
on-
seminar series.
been
It's
going
great.
on since 1999.
Oh, here, let me
Every
show
semester,
some of them. You just started. You just had one. This
Yeah, we had Dr.
September
Albert
7th.
Kausch. Dr. Albert Kausch is a professor here at URI
Right.
in biotechnology. He gave a lecture, an outstanding lecture on DNA-based forensics.
Now, is this open to the public?
It is. It's free and open to the public. Anyone can come and take this class on Friday afternoons from 3:30 to 5.
No credit. It's not a credit class.
You can get credit if you want
can?
to sign up for it. The undergraduates take it for credit. There's graduates who take it for it. It's one credit course. You have to write a paper after every lecture.
Right.
Dr. Oxley oversees that. But because of the interest, widespread interest in forensic sciences, we've opened it up to the public, and we have a group of people who've been with us every year for the last 12 years.
Wow.
Who sit in the same spot.
No kidding.
And can answer all the questions now.
Wow.
But-
and that's in the
In Pastory Hall in a very large auditorium.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's a great thing. So you can see the type of people we have. There's a guy coming
who
up
else?
next
Who else got-
Friday.
Oh, next Friday.
Next Friday is this guy, Dennis Hilliard.
Oh, he's a good one. That's
gonna
Dennis
talk-
Hilliard. He's a good one. He can talk your ear off. That
We're going
guy.
to talk about basic forensic sciences. The next guy is Mark Tobias, who's not only a locksmith but a lawyer. He's going to talk about how you get buy locks and guns and lies. Dr. Michael DeLauro, who's a public defender here in Rhode Island, will talk about cases that have affected forensic sciences for the last few years, including a couple of Supreme Court cases that affect forensic sciences.
Right.
Cyril Weck, he's a
No, he's big.
nationwide, internationally known forensic scientist.
Yeah, I know that name.
On the level of Dr. Henry Lee and Dr. Michael Baden out of New York.
And they're all from New England.
Yep,
Oh,
Dr.
New
Lee
England, New
came
York.
out of Connecticut. Dr. Baden is medical examiner in New York City. And Cyril Weck was the coroner for Allegheny County, which includes Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So they're very well respected, have been involved in any major forensic case in the United States.
Right.
Dr. Weck first cut his teeth on the Kennedy assassination, been involved with the Martin Luther King
He was
assassination.
in the Warren Commission?
He reviewed the Warren Commission as a forensic scientist and wrote on it. He now has an institute at Duquesne University, the Cyril Weck Institution. Dr. Lee has his own institution. At
When
the
are you
university.
getting yours? You should have yours already.
It always takes a few
You
bucks.
got to throw in a few dollars, right?
Anybody wants to donate,
Yeah.
just
Throw in
URI
a couple
Foundation.
million, you'll be all right.
One thing that I thought was very interesting, the
Target.
Target stores has their own
Target store.
forensic laboratory. Target stores, like the
Department
one
stores.
in Warwick at the mall. The department store has their own forensic science laboratory for investigating crimes within their corporation.
Wow.
So it's really interesting. I want to see
Wow.
what
You
he's
want to
coming
find
out.
out? We got to find out about
Yeah.
that.
Elaine Paragolero has been working with Dr. Lee all of her career.
Right.
She's going to talk about cold cases. We have this retired police officer, Jerry Land, from
North
Woonsocket.
Woonsocket. Oh, I know who he
A
is. Yeah.
serial killer in Woonsocket. He's going to talk about that. And the last one I want to talk about is
I
Liz.
kill cereal every morning.
You kill cereal every morning? It's not good for your health.
No. Oh, it isn't?
Somebody
Go on.
said if you eat grains, you end up like a cow, fat.
All right, explosives at the FBI.
FBI, that's one of Dr. Oxley's people. They're going to talk about that. But the one I want to mention is Liz Fontaine. Liz
Okay.
Fontaine was an undergraduate at URI. She took the forensic science major at URI in our program. She did an internship with me on blood alcohol, and she's now working for the FBI.
Wow.
And she actually testified in the Kaylee
Well, that's
Anthony
nice.
trial
That's big.
in
Yeah,
Florida.
That's
So
big.
it's
That's like some of my graduates from here that have rolled through here.
Yeah.
That have gone
To big time.
They've gone big time. In fact,
Yeah.
we just had a new one very recently. Just go a big time. That's been on this show. Dylan Dreyer.
Launching
She's
the careers.
She's with the Today Show now.
Excellent.
All right, alcohol, the most abused drug in the United States.
Bar none. We talk about cocaine, marijuana, spice, all those things, bath salts. They take second seat to alcohol. Alcohol, as you know, has the biggest effect on our country in terms of drunk driving.
Yeah.
And in fact, just past weekend, we had a fatal accident in South Kingston due to drunk driving.
Right, right.
So just to bring it to your attention, your audience, we talk about alcohol levels, 0.08. For most people, that means 4 or 5 drinks in an hour.
Right. Not
And
if they're shots.
Well, if it's a shot, 4 or 5 drinks in less than an hour.
Yeah,
gets
it'd
you
be
there.
20 minutes.
Well, it depends on how fast you drink it. But you can see from this chart that all these things
12-ounce can of beer and a
have-
glass of wine.
have the same amount of alcohol
Right.
in them. And that you're going to get just as drunk on 4 beers as you will on 4 shots.
All right. Oh, I know we got to go. I cannot believe we went through an hour, but
Oh, man. This is great, Bob.
Professor Hilliard? is
Professor
that a-
Hilliard, yeah.
Professor Dennis
Professor.
Hilliard. Oh, I do got to mention the person I was talking about, Dr. Stephen Scoley,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, yeah.
He had the dubious and dreadful task of identifying all the bodies at the station nightclub fire.
Oh, by dental records.
Right.
Yes, that's the most common way to identify a fire burn victim, by dental records, if they're available. In some cases, they're not available. But that would probably be the most common way and most inexpensive way to identify a body after they've been burned beyond recognition.
He's, you know,
Yeah.
got to be a terrible thing to have to deal
Look
with.
at, yeah,
doing
60,
that.
70, 80 bodies.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's awful, awful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's this guy you're with?
I got my picture with Bill Peterson, who was Gil Grissom on CSI.
Formerly of CSI.
Formerly of, he
Former.
left it.
Whatever happened to him?
Evidently, he took a sabbatical and he never came back.
Never came back. All right,
came
are
back.
we done? We're out of here. Folks, thank you for spending an hour with Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
call.
Thank you for coming down.